What's up, guys? So I just wanted to give you a brief update on I've been rebranding. And so those of you who have probably already noticed, say, what is this? Why isn't it called Work That Out anymore? So my show is rebranded to Reinvent You because that's technically what I do. I help people shift their identity to align with the things that they want to get in life. I've been doing that for over 2 decades. And I'm pretty good at it. Today, I'm going to share with you 10 steps on what it takes to reinvent yourself. And so, a little bit of backstory about reinventing yourself. So, those of you may have noticed from my tagline, my brand, those types of things that my company, my coaching company is called Reinvent You. And why do I think that's so important? Because so many times in life, we get to a point of where we settle. And you guys hear me talk about this all the time, so I'm not gonna dilly-dally today as much as I normally do, but we get to a point in life to where, sometimes we feel stuck and we feel like, you wake up one day and you're like, is this as good as it gets? And then we don't know exactly what it entails to take those next steps, to take your life to a different level, a life. And I know I talk about this all the time because I am so passionate about designing the life that you want to live. So how do we do that? How do we wake up one day and decide, I'm going to make these changes and I no longer want to live this average life. I no longer want to have, conflict in my marriage. I no longer want to have regret for getting up on a Monday morning because I got to go to a 9 to 5. What is it that we do that challenges us every day? So here are the 10 steps. So step number 1 out of the 10 steps that I'm going to share with you today is I find that it's most useful and most beneficial if you come from a place of like some meditative state. Like if you have some moments of reflection, even if it's that you're journaling, but start figuring out, what is this change that I want to make, and then embrace it. And so there will be some fear. There will be some talk back. There will be some language back here going, who do you think you are making these big steps? Why are you not satisfied for the status quo? Why are you not satisfied where you are right now? You will experience resistance because that's life. That's what happens because your subconscious wants to keep you safe in that imprint of how you've been doing things for all of your life or most of your life. So it wants to keep you in that place. So number 1, we want to embrace the change, right? Get your mind. So once you've decided in your mind, make that decision. Man, that's half the work. That is really half the work to make that decision. You can choose to do something different. Every day is a different day. A new day is a chance to do something different, to change your life, right? So you're going to make the decision. Number 2, what is it that you want to do? Well, there are lots of things in our lives where, as a kid, we enjoyed this. Right now, in our spare time, you enjoy doing that thing. What is that thing that you enjoy doing that you probably would do whether you got paid for or not, right? What is that thing? If you have no idea, what your strengths are, what your zones of genius are, what your gifts and talents are, there's so many different tests online that you can go and for free. You can do Strength Finder. You can do, the DISC test that helps you with your personality, see what you're going to be good at. The Enneagrams, So there's so many different tests that you could take that helps you basically identify where your strengths are. Another test that I really love is called High Five. It puts you in different categories and it'll give you these 5 main traits that you basically identify as being skilled in that category, right? So now we have made the decision, right? We have embraced the decision for change. And then number 2, we have basically identified our strengths and our talents and our gifts and these things that you want to do every day for the rest of your life, regardless if you get paid or not. Step number 3, I think, is so important because without knowing where you're going, any map can take you there, right? Because you don't know where you're going anyway, so you're kind of just shooting blindly. So number 3 is creating a vision for your life. Because if you don't create the vision, somebody else will. And how do they do that? By you not having a say in your day, you not having a say in, how you spend all your time. And so before you look, man, time goes by so fast. And if you don't have that map, if you don't have that grand vision of what you really want your life to look like, it'll be over before you know it. And then at the end, if you have a moment to reflect, again, that's a lot of times when regret tends to seep in. So how do we do it? I like to work with my clients on finding that moment. Again, it starts in reflection. We find that moment and go, what is it that I absolutely would love to do? How do I want to spend my time? How do I want to spend my day? And to me, that doesn't start with a job. That doesn't start with the job that I want. Yeah, it's nice to make that kind of money. It's nice to align with, the desires of your heart with your job, especially if you're working for the man. Those things are nice. But what I find to be most important is I don't feel like my job is my identity. My identity is something else, right? And so throughout my day, I think it's important to have that vision, but the vision on how I want to spend my time each day. It's important for me to get certain things done. And I feel like life is better for me. I feel better. Like when I do things like working out, when I make time for meditation, when I make time for prayer, when I make time for caring for myself, that all the things that I like doing, and maybe it's going for a bike ride, maybe it's cycling 20 miles, maybe it's going to have lunch with, a friend that I haven't seen in a long time. And you know what? I think all of that stuff is primary. I want that job to be secondary. So everything in my life right now, as far as creating a vision, that vision that I have for my life starts with all these other things. And then I put that work in with it because you know why? That gets me excited to get out of bed every single day. And not only in having these grand visions, like you can always have, what's your goal in 1 year? What's your goal in 6 months? What's your goal in 3 to 5, 10 years, whatever it is. But I'm a proponent for what is your intention today? Who do you want to be today? Who do you want to show up? How do you want to show up today, right? So setting that vision, but really important, setting that intention on how do you want people to remember you, not just at the end of life, but today. Let's say you're meeting with a group of people or you're hanging out with friends or whatever, and you leave to go to the bathroom. What do you want those people to say? That you inspired them, you motivated them, you're fun to hang around with? Or do you want them to say, I'm so sick of, Patty talking about her job all the time. I'm so sick of Ned talking about, how he hates his kids, how he hates his wife, whatever it is. How do you want people to talk about you when you're not around? And that's important. So that stems from setting your intention every single day of how you want to show up. So again, number 1, embrace the change. Number 2, you have to always find your strengths and figure out what you love and what you're good at, right? Number 3, creating that vision for your life and setting an intention daily. And number 4, guys. So number 4 is you have to commit to the process. Sometimes we get up on the wrong side of the bed. We're like, I don't feel like it today, right? We want to work on these things when it feels good. We want to work on our goals when we feel in flow, when things are going well. But you have to commit to getting out of bed, taking action, even when you feel like crap. And that's when it comes back to taking care of yourself so that you can feel better, so you can feel like you can be more alive, and you can feel and have the energy to do the things that you want to do. And you want to block that out as far as having consistent time, within the same window of time, and then it becomes a a habit. We keep repeating that process, and then it becomes ingrained in us. It becomes imprinted in your subconscious. It's like, oh, 11 to 1, I'm supposed to be working on this project. 1 to 3, I'm supposed to be working out, whatever that is. Create those habits to where they just become second nature. And step number 5. And again, I just think all of these steps are so incredibly important. Step number 5 is you have to start speaking it into existence. You have to, during that your quiet time, your meditation time, start visualizing it, right? So what happens is we know that the majority of our actions is governed and controlled by our subconscious mind. I know you guys are like, what are you talking about, Trey? What are you talking about? Well, I'm talking about, you are not aware that your heart's beating a certain beats per minute, per second. You are not aware that, oh, this is what it takes to breathe, right? And lots of times when you get in the car and you're like, I'm going to work, and you zone out. And then if you go back and think about, how did I even get here? How many red lights did I go through? So most of the time we're not even present. We have trained our bodies, our minds, our subconscious, that those have become repeated patterns. Those have become things that just kind of operate automatically. If I ask you to think about what your toes are doing right now, you weren't thinking about your toes before. It's only because I'm asking you to think about it, and your fingers and your extremities. Now we are becoming aware of it, right? And so what happens is we want to work and manipulate and help our subconscious with where we want to go. So it thinks and it reacts better to visualizations, to images, to pictures, using all 5 senses. And so what that means is there are times like, here's an example of how I apply it in my life. And so when I think about where it is I want to be in, 90 days, whatever the time frame is, then I really close my eyes and I envision myself going through the exact actions that I'm going to be doing on that day. And I envision the perfume I'm going to wear. I see the clothes that I'm wearing. I envision the people that I'm going to talk to. I know exactly what it's going to smell like. I hear the music that's going to be playing. I see the room, the way it looks. I visualize every part using my 5 senses so that it becomes a huge part of me. And so if you want to start training yourself to think bigger, to think on a deeper level, to think just, massive, train yourself to think in pictures and images and visuals, And I actually have a video that I made. And so sometimes during my meditation, I watch a movie, because sometimes I watch that movie just with my eyes closed and it's a mental exercise for me. But sometimes I also look at a movie that I've made of the body that I want, the person that I want to be, the traits that I want to embody. All of those things help me create the vision that I see for myself. All right, guys, we are halfway there, and we're going to jump right to number 6. Number 6 is, now that we know where we're going, we have a plan of action. We've actually started doing things. We've committed to that time. We're actually working on it. We're improving every single day, and we're taking action. Now it's time to, every now and then, sometimes once a week, every 2 to 3 days, once a month, whatever works for you. But you have to take a moment and assess where you are and reflect what's working and what's not working. And so that, sometimes that means, oh, I need to tweak this, or I need to pivot and do this a little differently. And so coming right out of the gate, most of the time, it's not going to be the exact plan that gets you. You are going to tweak it and make changes. So spend that time reflecting, examining what's working and what's not, and then pivot to make that change. And in pivoting to make that change, if you don't feel uncomfortable, if there isn't a lot of resistance coming up, then it's probably not a big enough vision, right? It's probably not something that's going to challenge you. If you think it's something that you can easily get done, then you're not dreaming big enough. Challenge yourself to do something that scares the absolute crap out of you. Challenge yourself to be better than you are today, better than you are this year. And number 8, I've already been sort of, talking about number 8. Number 8 is self-care and designing your day. And so I'm an advocate for, you got to get up and take care of yourself. If you don't feel good, then you're no good to anyone else, because especially if you're getting up and going to a 9 to 5, if something happens to you, if because you haven't taken care of yourself, because you're overloaded with stress, because you're anxious all day, you're depressed, all that employer thinks about is, did my worker show up? And when something happens to you, if you drop dead with a heart attack, how quickly will you be replaced, right? It is a fact of life. The company has to keep going. They'll send, oh, let's give to this fund. Let's send some flowers to so-and-so's funeral. But you know what? That business is going to keep rolling. So you have to be of the mindset, put yourself first, yourself as a priority. It is utmost important that you take care of yourself. And then only then, again, can you have the energy? Can you actually give to a project at work that you can add, intelligently to something, with another group, another cohort? But it's only after you have taken care of yourself and done the things that you need to do to feel your absolute best. And does that mean that every single minute of the day you're going to feel like that? No, that doesn't mean that at all. That means you are so self-aware of when you are at your best that you're going to continue doing those things. You're going to continue feeding yourself those things. You're going to continue hydrating yourself so that you have this energy, so that you don't feel worn down and beat down like a dog, right? So taking care of yourself is absolute number 1. It's the same thing like when they say on an airplane, if the oxygen mask come down, you put yours on first. Don't put the babies on first. Don't put your wife or your husband's on first. Put yours on first, because if you don't have your stuff together, you can't help anybody else. And this brings me to number 9. Number 9 is really, really important. It's getting support. It's important to get support so you don't feel like you're walking down this path alone. But surrounding yourself with people who are going to inspire you, uplift you, motivate you on those days when you're not feeling it, on those days when you don't want to get up and be consistent with your routine. Support to where when you feel like, I'm not flying today, they can be the wind beneath your wings. And so, again, it's important to be the average of the 5 people that you aspire to be in the room with. Be the average of people who are trying to help one another. Be the average of people who want to do good in this world. Be the average of just being a good human being. It's research has been done that the percentages, I think it's a 90% chance that it increases the possibility of achieving a goal if you have an accountability system set up with a buddy, with a partner, with a coach, with a mentor, with someone. But if you feel like you're going to let someone else down if you don't show up, the odds are we show up. Sometimes we won't show up for ourselves, but we'll show up for others. And then number 10. Number 10 is so vitally important in these 10 steps because it revolves around getting better each day. So number 10 is improve something that is going to get you closer to your goal every single day. Even if that means you're going to improve your health. You're going to, maybe do a little bit of cardio. Maybe you're going to improve, something in your mental capacity. Maybe you're just going to improve delivering something extemporaneously rather than being dependent on a script. Maybe you're going to improve your lead generation. Maybe you're going to improve how you communicate with your loved ones. Improve something, one thing every single day. Again, setting that intention on what it is you're going to do throughout the day will absolutely get you closer to where you want to be. And so, in making this change and thinking about the things that you want to improve, a lot of people get to a point in their life where they're like, I'm not satisfied. I'm not happy. I want to make some changes. But I do want you to ask yourself, are you making this change because it's going to move you closer to your authentic self? Or is it moving you further away? And so we don't want to approach reinventing yourself and changing some things about yourself that will be for the benefit of other people, or because other people said you needed to do these things. We want to change things about our lives so that we live more in tune with our authentic self. Remember? And you don't have to go and move to, Costa Rica. You can start small. Reinventing yourself doesn't necessarily mean you're going to turn your life upside down. It doesn't mean that you are going to be, alien from the person you are today. It just means, you're going to start with some small habits. You're going to start with readjusting some things. You're going to maybe get up a little earlier. You're maybe going to have a little bit more discipline. You're just going to make tiny adjustments so that it happens more gradual. And if it happens more gradual, it's kind of like weight loss, right? It's more lasting. So, at this point in the road, I just want to leave you with a quote from Jim Rohn. Happiness is not something you postpone for the future. It's something you design for the present. If you like what you're hearing, and perhaps you're interested in having a complimentary conversation with me, click the link at the bottom of the show notes. Thank you so much for listening. If you even want to know more about what I'm up to, head over to traviastewart.com. And if you like seeing the videos of the podcast, every episode is on my YouTube channel. Take care, guys.